Have you ever noticed how Deadlock's been making her way into multiple team comps in VCT recently? Well, she is, and Deadlock stands like us are over the moon for it. So far, we've seen pro teams such as Evil Geniuses, Loud, and even Sentinels use Deadlock in various maps. Well, I say it's about time we see our underrated Norwegian Sentinel make her long overdue appearance into Valorant's meta. Now, on that note, we are here today to discuss and dissect your must-learn setups and lineups for Deadlock on Ascent. Looking to spice things up for your next Ascent team comp? Well, today is your lucky day. Deadlock's strength in holding a site lies in capitalizing on isolated angles. Well, thankfully, she is a powerful sonic sensor to help turn these isolated fights in her favor. For our first defensive setup on A, place one sensor trap right on this wall here. This is going to slow down enemies trying to close the switch from A main or anyone trying to enter site from tree. The second sensor trap will go on this wall right behind generator. This trap will serve as a safety net against enemies rushing through either side of generator. Now, as a solo anchor, you can position towards the left side of hell and wait for enemies to trigger your traps. As soon as you hear the enemy team pushing towards site, you can throw a barrier mesh right in this area to funnel enemies toward the left side of site or the right side of generator. Once you hear your first sonic sensor activate, you can swing and get an easy frag or two while the enemy is concussed. Since your location is going to be revealed, the potential instinct of the enemy team is going to be to rush you through generator. However, since you have a second sonic sensor ready, you can easily get the best of them. This setup can also work if you have teammates holding with you from heaven or tree. For our next setup, we're going to be focusing more towards the middle part of A site. This works best if you notice a pattern in the enemy team where they mostly take space on site towards the general area of dice. Our first sonic sensor goes right in the middle of these stairs here. Since this trap really isn't too close to A main, enemies won't be able to hear the trap and they can easily catch them off guard. The second trap goes right in the middle of dice, but make sure it's slightly tilted towards the left so it can partly cover the area of generator. Jet players who dash towards dice are going to easily get concussed, as well as anyone else from the enemy team trying to follow up for trades. As for your barrier mesh, you can hold from heaven and prepare for a lineup since you hear the enemy team pushing from main. For the lineup, align yourself towards this line on the floor. Then align your crosshair towards the middle part of this vertical metal pipe. Pull out your barrier mesh and slowly make your way up until the rightmost line of your HUD aligns with the top part of this horizontal metal pipe. Do a jumping throw and the wall should land perfectly on the path to switch. This barrier mesh lineup will help funnel the enemy team towards the middle part of site while denying them the chance to close tree. If you notice the enemy team pushing a lot towards tree, here's a simple but absolutely nasty setup you can use to make them rethink their decisions in life. The first sonic sensor goes on this plant, covering the entirety of the entrance to tree from catwalk. The second trap goes into the corner of this wall at a tilted angle. Once the traps activate or while you're jiggling the angle, you can easily get kills if you're holding from garden or switch. Now, do keep in mind that although Deadlock is a sentinel, you're still going to have to be swinging to fight off of those trips, otherwise you're not going to get any value playing her. Come to think of it though, for some of you, that might be kind of scary. Maybe you aren't really the fighting type, but still are into Deadlock's aesthetic and want to give him a shot. Well, the good news is that anyone is capable of achieving good aim. 15 years ago, a lot of people just thought aim was a genetics thing, but well, that's been, pretty debunked. There are correct things to be doing when you're aiming and incorrect things that every single player should be practicing. That's exactly what we cover in our hour-long Aim God Masterclass over at Skillcat, where we teach you everything you need to know about aiming so that you can stop looking like this and start looking like this. Listen, I'm not going to turn you into tits, but we can get your aim to an immortal level so you can start competing against some of the best players in the game. And the best part is we do it for pretty dang cheap. Some coaches out there are charging literally 4 figures just to get you out of bronze. Don't waste your money on them. We've got all you need right here. And the best part is we offer a rank improvement guarantee, so if you don't climb, well, you don't pay. Check it out using the link below for a discount today. And other than that, let's take a look at our pro for today. Okay, so moving on to B, our first setup requires a sonic sensor right on this wood pillar to cover the whole area of B main's entry point. Our second sonic sensor goes deeper into sight just below the speed lane. If you're holding the sight solo, you can jiggle peek from stairs after activating the first trap. If anyone makes it through speed lane, you can wait for him to drop down before peeking from stairs to catch him in a daze. Now, to help funnel the enemy team further into speed lane, you can throw your barrier mesh right in the middle of switch, so they'll have absolutely no choice but to push in that area. If they do decide to break the barrier to gain space, you and your teammates can peek them while they're busy shooting the wall. The enemy team, they won't be able to hear the sonic sensor in front of B main until they expose themselves fully. And the same goes with the trap below speed lane. They'll only be able to notice it until they've dropped down. So for our second setup, we're going to be focusing on denying as much space as we can from the enemy team in the switch area. First trap goes a bit higher than usual on this wall for an unexpected placement. The second sonic sensor goes right on the wall near switch at a tilted angle for anyone trying to rush and close the switch. You can either keep your barrier mesh for retake, post plant, or when the situation calls for a spur-of-the-moment play. Mid and market is usually easy to hold, but also often ignored when we get caught up holding A or B main. A simple way of denying entry towards bottom mid is by throwing your barrier mesh in front of the entrance. This is going to give you roughly 30 seconds worth of blockage on mid unless the enemy team decides to destroy it. However, they can also be easily punished for that since you or a teammate can peek from mid cubby or market to catch them off guard. You might also want to be wary of utility sound cues such as satchels, updraft, or teleport from Yoru, Omen, and Chamber. Now, these movement utilities can get past your barrier mesh, so do try to exercise awareness if you have these agents on the enemy team. If you do decide to actively hold mid or help a teammate in doing so, you can take advantage of this mid-market setup here. First sensor goes right on this box at bottom mid. The second one is going to be tilted at an angle right on this corner of market. You can hold these angles from market or all the way back here to ensure no one gets through. Do take note that sonic sensors do work best when you know how to jump spot angles, since enemies often shoot as a response when seeing a jump spot. Once they take the bait, they're going to be concussed by the sensors, allowing you and your team to get easy frags. The tricky part about using Deadlock on attack is that her traps don't provide assurance from potential flanks. However, this can easily be remedied if you have a good hold on sight after planting the spike. Your team just needs to exercise a bit more map awareness to not allow flanks from disrupting your rhythm. So as long as you have sufficient awareness, you're going to be surprised at how much value Deadlock can provide for the whole team. Starting off with attacking A, you can use a barrier mesh lineup that goes directly onto the deep part of tree. To do this, make your way towards the corner of this box on A main. Once there, aim your crosshairs towards the tip of the white outline on this fracture in the sky and do a normal throw. This lineup's going to cover a huge area in the entry point of tree, preventing enemies from pushing in. You can also see how one can get stuck if they're holding from the corners of tree. Just remember that you're still exposed to these angles, so you can still follow it up with a smoke or by closing the switch. Nevertheless, this wall placement can delay so much time from the enemy team, especially on pistol or eco rounds. Despite not having a secure anti-flank util, Deadlock's sensor trap can still be useful for holding potential flankers. If you or a teammate is holding A main, you can place a sonic sensor right at this corner near the orb. Now, this works best if you're jiggling from winds so that you can focus on flank. As soon as they spot you and try to shoot or make a step, they're going to be dazed by the sensor for an easy pick. If they decide to shoot the trap, your whole team will still be notified of the flanker's presence. Now, there are two ways to make use of your second sensor trap, depending on where your team decides to plant the spike. If you plant on generator, you can place the sensor trap right next to the wall. This trap is going to activate if the enemy team taps on the defuse. The same goes if you plant in front of dice. You can place the second sensor on the tall box to the right for an effective post plant. Our next setup is perfect for an active hold on site that aims to deny the enemy team from taking space during a retake. Make your way towards site and use GrabNet lineups, which of course we're going to discuss in further detail later, to help take space and win duels. Once on site, place a sonic sensor near switch to slow down enemies coming from tree. Then make your way towards dice and simply throw your barrier mesh towards heaven to delay the enemy team from pushing back in. The second sensor is going to go on the wall of heaven so that enemy peekers from from such an exposed angle will be dazed and easy targets. If there's anything Deadlock's util excels at, it's delaying as much time as possible for the enemy team. So for our first B offensive setup, we're going to kick things off with a barrier mesh lineup for Market. So to do this, align yourself towards the bottom right corner of this box on B main. Next, aim your crosshair towards the corner of this window and do a normal throw. This wall is going to prevent enemies from pushing out of Market and allow your team to focus on taking space towards B site and switch. Again, just remember that you'll still be exposed to certain angles unless it's smoked or you close the switch. Also, take note that as soon as you close the switch, the inner legs of the barrier mesh towards Market will break. The only purpose of this wall lineup is to prevent enemies from peeking out of your team's smoke on Market. After closing the switch, place your first sonic sensor on the wall right above logs. This provides you protection from enemies pushing from Market after they've broken the door. For your second sensor, place it right on this wooden pillar to avoid getting pinched from CT. Now, while this spot might be a little bit risky, it definitely yields great rewards if you do it correctly. For our second B site execute, align yourself towards the edge of this frame and hug the wall. Aim your crosshair towards the metal pipe and do a normal throw using your GravNet. Your teammates can simultaneously push while you throw this lineup as it covers a huge area on Market as well as logs. Once you make it inside, throw your barrier mesh towards CT to delay the enemy team from retaking. Place a sensor trap right on this wall, covering part of the entrance for flanks and anyone pushing towards speed lane. You can place your second sensor right on this double green box facing stairs for anyone pushing on this side. As soon as the enemy team pushes to site and shoots or pre-fires, they're going to be dazed by the traps and you can easily turn the tides on them. Clearly, you are underestimating Deadlock's capabilities if you think she doesn't have a setup ready for a mid-execute. Well, we have her utilities to thank for her versatility in a variety of situations on attack. So let's start off with a nasty GravNet lineup for Tree and mid-cubby. So to do this, align yourself towards the edge of this wall. Next, use this notch as a reference point and make your way up until you reach the middle part of this line. Pull out your GravNet, do a jumping throw, and watch your mid-cubby peekers literally kneel before you for your OP lineup. Now, once you make your way towards mid-bottom, throw your barrier mesh towards the entry point from the enemy spawn. This wall will delay the enemy's team from reclaiming space on mid-market. Again, just do be careful when crossing to Market since you're still exposed unless your team smokes it. Now, as for your sensor traps, place one right on this diagonal wall. The other trap can go right below this area on Catwalk. This notifies you if there's anyone flanking toward mid from Tree, and if you're holding from mid, you can easily pick them off. As much as a Tree execute can be difficult due to the narrow passage, Deadlock can also provide a great setup for taking space in this area. You can either start from tiles with the GravNet lineup for mid-cubby or from mid-top with the rest of your team. Before you make your way towards Tree, you can throw your barrier mesh towards mid-bottom to prevent flank from Market. Or if you and your team decides to just smoke it off, that can also work since you can save your wall for a different spot. Now, once you've cleared Tree, place a sonic sensor right beside this tree for anyone retaking from mid. If you kept your barrier mesh, you can use it here on the stairs of Garden to control more space in this area. For our last sensor, place it right beside the switch to fortify your defenses on Tree even further. So now that you've reached this point of the video, you already know that here on Skill-Capped, we never let a guide end without going the extra mile. So let's go over some bonus lineups you can add to your arsenal to be the next best Deadlock main. The first barrier mesh lineup is guaranteed to trap enemies in the orb area of A main. And the best part is if you pair this with a teammate's Molly or Breach's Aftershock, you're guaranteed to get at least one pick, if not more. To do this lineup, align yourself towards the middle part of this drainage on Tree. Next, aim your crosshairs towards the tip of this protruding leaf and do a jumping throw. As you can see, this can cage the whole enemy team if it's timed properly. You're also bound to achieve some absolutely nasty plays if you pair this with a good damage-dealing utility. Did we mention you can do a similar concept of barrier mesh lineup paired with Molly's in B main too? Well, all credit goes to Deadlock's throwable wall. So for this combo, Breach is preferred since he can also concuss before the Aftershock, but anyone with high damage Mollies can work just as well. So to get started, align yourself towards the middle part of this triple box. Then use this metal bar as a reference point and align your crosshair towards the top of this window. Pull out your barrier mesh and do a jumping throw. Just make sure to throw your wall at the peak height of your jump. This might take some getting used to, so don't be afraid to hop on some custom games to practice it. If the enemy team is rushing towards the orb, you can see how this can cage some of them and ultimately deny their chances of retreating. Pair it with a well-thrown molly, and that's instant GG. Now, we all know there are dozens of possibilities when it comes to GrabNet lineups, but here are some of the best ones you can use to polish your title of Lineup Larry. The first lineup goes to anyone defending from Generator on A site. Stand on the corner of this tall green box and aim your crosshair towards the tip of this fracture in the sky. Do a normal throw simultaneously with your team's push to easily pick off Generator defenders. For an OP GrabNet lineup that covers the majority of Heaven and behind Dice, line yourself into this corner. Then aim your crosshair towards this dark patch on the cloud and do a jumping throw. As soon as your teammates push in, anyone holding from Heaven and Dice are going to be left defenseless for a seamless site take. If you want to stop A-site pushers on their tracks, this GrabNet lineup paired with a raised nade or other mollies is definitely going to do the trick. Stand in the middle of Dice and aim your crosshair at the tip of the corner of this roof. Communicate with your teammates, thrown at the same time. Then do a jumping throw for a potential utility ace. When attacking B, you can use this lineup from B lobby to help your teammates enter the site. Align yourself towards this line on the brick wall and aim your crosshair towards the tip of this antenna. Do a jumping throw and watch this lineup magnetize enemies holding them from stairs, the far side of Switch, and the left side of CT. You can have your teammates peek off at the GrabNet or molly the area for fast picks. Now, again, this lineup works best if you have a teammate with a high damage molly, so do be sure to grab a buddy. Stand on this corner right outside of Market and aim your crosshair towards the top part of this metal bar. Do a normal throw simultaneously with your teammate as soon as you hear the enemies pushing towards B. As you can see, it has a wide coverage, so it's best to use mollies with a wide radius to maximize the mayhem. Okay, for the last bit, we're going to go through two powerful but situational post-plant annihilation lineups for our unsuspecting enemies. Do be careful in overusing these. They might get the read on you when you execute them. So for the first one, we're going to head to A site. Make sure to plant the spike away from Generator for the ult to land. A good trick you can do when planting is to face the wall towards Switch. If you still have some teammates left, you can have them buy time to get best results from the lineup. However, this can also work if you're left in a 1v1 or a 1v2 situation. Head to Heaven and align yourself towards this line on the wall. Face the opposite direction, then aim your crosshair towards this dark patch on the rubble in the sky. Wait till you hear the enemy tap or defuse the spike, then activate your annihilation and throw it in that direction. This lineup is guaranteed to catch them as long as they're within the radius near the spike. The ult is going to buy you some time, as well as isolate fights if there are more enemies. It won't kill them outright, but fall damage will definitely be their demise. Now, we can't say all this and just sleep on executing B site, as we also have a nasty ult lineup that's much safer to pull off than our previous. Once you've made your way towards B site, plant the spike towards this corner on the double green box. Your goal is to survive for as long as you can, so go ahead and hold from B main in case there are any flankers. Just be wary of anyone pushing B main for retake, or just have a teammate help you hold that angle if it's possible. To prepare for the lineup, stand on this corner right in the entrance of B main. Aim your crosshair towards this area on the window, wait for the enemy to tap or defuse the spike, then throw your ult in that direction. After landing the ult, head to B main to either isolate fights or wait for the ult to break. This won't kill your prey, but as soon as the ult breaks, they're gonna wish they never broke free. Alright though guys, before we wrap this up, let's tell you a little bit more about Skillcapped. So we offer a 5-division rank up guarantee, and we think that's a pretty crazy thing to offer. It's kind of like a gym membership guaranteeing you that you're gonna get ripped. Your local gym probably go bust if they offered you that. But not us, because we've offered this for years because our service really does work. It works so well, in fact, that we're able to produce by far the largest catalog of premium Valorant guides on the internet. We add new courses every month with over 1,000 guides curated into over 50 courses. No one can compare. We also have a direct line of communication with subscribers in our Discord so that you can get connected immediately to some of the best players in the game.
who will respond to every question you ask. Sign up today for as little as $6.99 a month if you're serious about improving your game. So that's going to be all for this one today, everyone. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.